Geek Out! Bleep Blop Bloop gamers. It's time for another installment of the Video Game Archives. This time we're going to really talk about, it's probably my favorite game on the Nintendo Entertainment System. It's Super Mario Brothers 3. Zach, is joining me for yet another installment. Would you go as far to say that this is your favorite game on the NES, Zach?
Oh, absolutely. It's night and day when you look at this title compared to the other games that were released for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
What do you remember? What your earliest memories of Super Mario Brothers 3 was?
I guess just for starts, I would say the title screen. The red curtain coming up is definitely something that really sticks with you. And then I guess the concept of a world map that brought you into the levels themselves. I thought that was very interesting. It took me a while to figure it out at first, especially when you're trying to figure out why you can't pass a level until you've beaten it and how to get into the level itself, but with the push of a button. It was all very confusing to me at the time, but it took some getting used to, and it was very welcomed.
I think, this was certainly... If this wasn't the first Mario game... No, I guess I remember the original and 2 before I remembered this. What's kind of wild is this was out in Japan in 88. It didn't come out in the States until like 90 because of a microchip, like a part shortage, which is so weird. That's why they had so much lead time. That's why they were able to basically build the entire movie, The Wizard, around it.
Really, because the nods to the Wizard... It almost seems like it's just kind of a shoo-in.
Yeah, because that was the entire thing, because people knew that Super Mario Brothers 3 existed in Japan, but it just hadn't come out literally for years in the United States because there was a microchip shortage, which you think Nintendo would be all over, but since it's like the really final flagship game for that console before it transitions to the Super Nintendo. But, here's the thing. I haven't watched all of The Wizard.
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't really cared to watch The Wizard. I've seen all the reviews from popular internet celebrities and whatnot. Angry Video Game Nerd being the first.
Of course.
Yeah, and it's just, honestly,
It's got Bo
I've
Bridges.
played the crap out of Super Mario Brothers 3, and aside from like the other Nintendo references with the Power Glove and stuff, it doesn't seem like that interesting of a movie, but more of like a nostalgic campiness.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things it's like a time capsule. It'll bring you right back to that time, but maybe not necessarily. I don't know. Like it was not something I really grew up with. I was aware of the Wizard. I was certainly aware of the Power Glove and all that, but though I never knew anybody as a kid with a Power Glove. It wasn't until I was a man that people actually, had that shit. And I was like, oh, like Chris has got like a Power Glove and all that. And it's just like, oh, well.
Yeah, you had to have some pretty loaded parents at the time.
Yeah, I didn't even have an NES. I would have to play NES game. My first console was a Super Nintendo, at least first home console. So it was a big deal going over and playing Super Mario. This was the game that gave us the Koopa Kids, the Koopalings. This is the game that, but yeah, the overworld map is huge. We take that for granted now, but it starts here. All the suits, it's not just Fire Flower and Power Star anymore. Now you can like become like Raccoon or Tanuki Mario or Frog Suit Mario and Luigi. Yeah, this game is enormous.
Goodness, I don't even know where to start with it. When you were talking about the different world suits and the bosses even, because, oh my gosh, I'm just like gushing out about everything. I guess where I'd like to start off is just talking about the world map in general. And like I said before, how it's just kind of this overview, and you already get a glance of how many levels are packed in said world. And what was really cool was that they had a lot going on within the world map itself, making it interactive, being able to play mini games to get additional items, and you had the trees dancing. There was life within the world itself before you play the actual levels, and I found that really interesting of them going the extra mile.
What would you say is your favorite of the 8 worlds in Super Mario Brothers 3?
Hands down, Giant World's my favorite world 4.
Mm. I'm partial to just the first world, just because it's obviously the one I played the most as a kid, because this doesn't have a save feature like Super Mario World. So I'm quite familiar with the first world. I know all the secrets in that first world. Honestly, I really like World 2. I also like the sand stuff. That was really cool.
Gosh,
with the
you're
killers.
probably the only person who willingly likes something desert related in a video game.
It's better than the water world. It's better than World 3, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just kind of. I thought it was pretty cool. Do you play? Are you the kind of guy that is always, when you sit down and revisit Super Mario Brothers 3, do you play it top to bottom, or do you use those warp whistles?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually use the warp whistle to go to my favorite worlds, and then play it that way. So with the first 2 worlds, I collect as many warp whistles as I can, and then, gosh, try saying that 10 times fast. And I just go to my favorite worlds. Actually, come to think of it, maybe Skyworld's probably my favorite solely because of the Goomba shoe.
Yeah, I could see that being the case. Yeah, it's kind of a cute aesthetic.
Yeah, of all the power-ups, for some reason that one's my favorite. And I don't know, I guess I just get a kick out of him just being in a giant shoe and being able to walk on spikes. I thought that was just phenomenal.
The what's your that is your favorite power up? Not because for me it's probably it's either Teddy Bear Mario or
the Tanuki Mario.
Is that is because there's Raccoon and is Tanuki's the that's right, because he can also
Tanuki's like the suit where it's just like he looks like a teddy bear
and he can turn into a statue.
Okay, so funny thing about the statue is that I didn't know he could do that until I was like a whole lot older, and I hit that button by accident. Because it's kind of like you hit down and another button in order to get the statue to activate. And then that's when I found out that you can like switch the rod that he's holding in between hands.
Right. Yeah. But that's one of my favorites. You know, I also like the frog suit. I always kind of sit on that until World War 3, and it's how I. There's also a secret. It's in the final world with like all the one where you take on Bowser's fleet. If you use the frog suit, you can find a secret exit that'll have you bypass most of the level.
How does that? Because of the improved swimming?
I guess it's because there's like a weird quicksand stuff that the ships are floating on, if I remember correctly. And then one of the ships, I'm trying to remember. If I'm in the moment, I can remember which one. But yeah, you just kind of swim down and it gets you to.
That makes sense. Yeah,
to a nice, easy way out. But no, I mean, there's so much. This is, while there were secrets as early as Super Mario Brothers, this is the one that really goes. And they show up in, even though Doki Doki Panic or Super Mario Brothers 2 or Super Mario Brothers USA has them. This is the one where they go for broke. They really I feel like almost every level in that first world has something, a little something, be it a secret exit or an item or whatever that it's just so cool.
These secrets are just they are nuts with where they're placed and how to get them. I mean, it's kind of a lost art because nowadays anyone can just data mine a game. But for instance, who would have thought that you had to fly all the way up a ceiling and then there's a platform up there in order to get to a warp whistle? Or who knew that you would have to kneel on a white block in order to show up behind the scenery? It's just wild.
This is a game where I feel like I didn't have a Nintendo Power subscription. A lot of my friends did.
Mm-hmm.
But that would have been invaluable with this game. Otherwise, you just wouldn't know. Like you're saying, this is a pre-internet world.
Yeah, not unless if you're growing up to be a bug tester or something.
Yeah, and then of course in The Wizard, the kid just knows how to get to the warp whistle, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, no. They're chanting, find the warp, and he's like, oh, of course.
Yeah, everybody knows it's right here. But, it's... unlike Super Mario Brothers 2 or the Lost Levels, this is one of those Mario games where I can actually beat. In my prime, I could beat it inside of 30 minutes. And yes, I did use both warp whistles, but that's how you do it.
Yeah, it's funny. There are definitely some. Not all the stages are created equally. I know there's one particular stage from Skyworld where it's towards the later end, and it's a vertical scrolling level, and you're just going from platform to platform. Where at the same time, there's these fire chomps that like fly around and are shooting fire at you, and you could be ballsy enough to jump on them, but then one will come back shortly after. So that one constantly has you on your toes. And then with World 8, oh my gosh. So usually when I'm playing Super Mario Brothers 3, I have a stockpile of all the best power-ups of um like the P-Wing and the Fire Flower and the Hammer Suit, multiple Hammer Suits.
Yeah.
And then I get to World 8 and I'm like, come on, let's do this. And I use them all up. It's so embarrassing, but it's just these stages are so unforgiving.
I'm the same way. I don't warp to the final world now that I'm well past my prime in recognizing the patterns and just being able to speedrun Super Mario Brothers 3. At this point of my video gamedom, I stock up on basically all the good shit before it's usually right around World 3 or 4, where I'll be like, all right, let's go ahead and give it a try and see if we can do it. I'll skip worlds like 5 through 7 and try to make that beeline straight for it after that. But again, this is the game that introduces Bowser's children. I don't know who he fucks like 7 times, maybe just once. He's a turtle, just kind of lays them all out. But who's your favorite of the Koopa Kids?
That's a very good one. Gosh, I would have to say probably Morton, because I just found him. It was like a good mix of being an annoying boss, yet a good challenge of just, hey, shaking the ground. Oh, crap, I need to figure out to jump when he lands. That way I'm not getting paralyzed and then getting obliterated shortly after. Wendy's she's up there, but yeah, with those rings, I would say it's more on the annoying side rather than a fun challenge.
I always liked Ludwig. Just the idea that there was this Koopa kid named Ludwig von Koopa. Mm-hmm. Just for some reason, it wasn't. And the cool thing for listeners at home that don't know, all 7 Koopa kids are named after like musicians. Like
and I would say Ludwig's like the most obvious one.
yeah. Morton's named after Morton Downey Jr., which is kind of wild. Roy is named after Roy Orbison. Iggy's named after Iggy Pop. Larry's named after the drummer from U2. Like, it's just the weirdest, like Larry Mullen. What the fuck,
Yeah, I mean, different time periods too. It's almost like they just had a database and drew out of a hat.
Yeah. Now, how many times do you own Super Mario Brothers 3?
Good question. I used to own that for the Nintendo, but I unfortunately submerged it in water, so that's long gone. And then Super Mario All-Stars for Super Nintendo, Super Mario All-Stars for the Wii, the download for the Wii Virtual Console, download for the Wii U, download for the 3DS, I believe. Even though I never played on the 3DS, I just had the download. And then I guess we'll have to... Oh, and then the NES Classic Edition.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I think I just have it on Wii U, and All Stars. So yeah, I just have it 3 times. But yeah.
Here's a question I got for you. Have you played through Super Mario Brothers 3 with another person?
I've never beaten it with another person. I've certainly played it with other people, but no, I've never actually beaten Super Mario Brothers. And you would always get that one asshole that would challenge you to the bonus stage, and it's like, dude, I just want to play through the game. I don't want to play like old school arcade Mario Bros right now. I just want to, like, I don't care if it's an M or L on the overworld. I just want to beat the game.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
Yeah, so it was it's probably like when I was around 18 or 19. But I was over at a friend's house, and then we were loading it up on the Wii Virtual Console. And we were just pulling an all-nighter, beating this game in one sitting. So even though I was the one who was responsible for beating the later worlds, like worlds 5 through 8. But yeah, we had this really cool system of just like us going back and forth. Definitely hit a lot of continues and redoing some of the worlds. But Yeah, unfortunately, he would always beat me to the Toad House, get said power up, waste it immediately. And when it came to doing the arcade Mario Brothers levels, well, they're fun. We were just more focused on being the game. Whereas in my younger days, um, just playing with my sister, I'd be a jerk and then just completely beat her in the arcade Mario Brothers levels.
Oh, it was you. You're the one that always does that mode.
Hmm. Yeah, so it was just whenever I felt like it too. So, like for instance, if she beat me to the Toad House, then I would challenge her in the arcade Mario Brothers stage, and then I would just do one of those things where hit the platform that she's standing on, or revive an enemy to like force it into her. Um, pretty funny, laughable moments there.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I think the farthest I've gotten playing with another player is like World 5 or 6. Certainly not all the way to World 8 and certainly not beating the game. Also, very inventive way you take out Bowser in this one. Cuz you're used to like jumping on all the Koopa kids and all the sub bosses and you get to Bowser and it's like, "Oh no, you have to trick him to kill himself." Okay. I think I can do this.
Actually, that was the first. Okay, so let me go back to my earliest memory. My earliest memory was I was probably 4 or 5, and I was watching my oldest sister play this game.
Mhm.
She used to be the NES junkie before I took the reins and became a Nintendo fanatic. Um, so she would just like play this game, and then I would just like sit on the floor, completely silent, just watching the screen, never blinking. And then that's when I finally witnessed her going to World A, beating Bowser, and then yeah, the first fight she lost her life because we didn't know that you destroy the floors underneath. It was just yeah, we just I don't know. We tried like jumping didn't work, and yeah, so that was wild. And then I remember beating the game, and then when you go through the credits, it tells you the names of all the worlds, and I thought that was really cool. And I was trying to memorize them so that way I'd never forget.
Mhm. Again, pre-internet world.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, because there's no indicator, as far as I can tell, that where anyone in the game like gives you the hint, like this is how you take out Bowser. He's not like the others. You just let him like pound the floor until he goes to hell. Um, yeah, that was pure back in those days where everything was just pure trial and error. Now, how fast in your prime would you say you can beat Super Mario Brothers 3? And yes, counting warp whistles.
I mean, I think it would still take me a few hours because I haven't really memorized the patterns enough to do speed runs. So it's just a matter of is my platforming still at its prime or am I rusty at this point?
What's your favorite song in this game? Because this is, like similar to the
Ooh,
other games, is a Koji Kondo soundtrack joint.
stellar soundtrack. I think there's probably only one track that I don't particularly care for, and it's probably the underwater music. Not
Yeah.
that it's bad, it's just yeah, it just has like these like harsh strings sound to it.
Hmm.
But as far as my favorite, I really like the underground level with like the heavy percussion. I just I always play those levels with a little bit of swagger and doing the butt sliding, killing the buzzy beetles along the way.
Sure. I'm a little partial to the World One Overworld with the dancing hills, the doot 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 doot
Oh
doot.
yeah,
And World Two, the
oh yeah.
um,
Uh,
which they
I
bring
haven't. Okay,
back.
so
They bring back that theme in like Mario Chase on Wii U, and they bring it on what's the other? I feel like they use it in Super Mario Galaxy.
the next time I heard that song, it was in DDR Mario Mix. And then, even though I was nostalgic about not hearing this song in years, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is when I finally hear it again in a DDR Mario game."
They dusted that one off just for you.
Pretty much. And then, yeah, then it wasn't until Super Mario Galaxy that they introduced it in the cookie world.
Yes, that's what it was. It was the cookie world where yeah, you're jumping from like, and that's right. Everything's like moving, and you have to move with it, otherwise you're fucking dead. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was the case with those levels. Chances are, when you heard that music, the it was a scrolling level, so you were just constantly move your ass, while at the same time the scrolling would never scroll fast enough.
Yeah, just you'd be at the edge of the screen, like, come on, come on, come on. You know. Yeah. No, I totally get that. I totally get that. Man, yeah, this. I mean, it really is like if there's any game that could cap off the NES and all the eight, because this really does push like 8-bit graphics as far as they can go. It's kind of extraordinary when you think about it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the few titles where you look at this game and then you look at the predecessors and you can't believe they were on the same system. The only other example I can think of is probably Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat 2 that are on the same system because, yeah, that's just night and day.
All the FX chip games, I thought really pushed their console, like the Super Nintendo, as far as like the idea of Star Fox and now Star Fox 2 being a Super Nintendo game is kind of extraordinary because that always felt like almost like it was like a 32-bit game, not quite a 64-bit game, but certainly not a 16-bit game.
Oh, absolutely. Just yeah, and they try to have opening cinematics with and did an excellent job of showing like 3D polygon work.
Yeah, I remember like when I first got Star Fox, I was like I knew they were supposed to be spaceships, but on some level I'm like they're just fucking triangles. Like, and all the buildings are just rectangles and like circular prisms and that sort of thing. But yeah, Super Mario Brothers really, and I remember I forget what cereal chain it was, but I would get they would have, instead of having like toys, you would get like Super Mario Brothers like hints. And I'm trying to remember what the cereal was because this game was fucking. I mean, this is the game that like basically launched the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Well, yeah, there was also the Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to remember. Did Super Show predate? Super Show didn't predate the Super Mario Brothers 3, did it, or is it? Because I thought I thought the Super Show turned into Super Mario Land.
Well, no, because
or Super Mario World rather.
did the Super Show have Yoshi? Because that should probably answer your question.
Super Show had Yoshi when they rebranded as Super Mario World.
Yeah.
OG Super Mario Super Show did not have Yoshi. So, I mean, that's a game, or that's a show, and I don't know if it's on Netflix anymore, but I remember I would watch the shit out of that, every morning. Yeah, I mean, it was, that's right, it was called Super Mario Brothers 3. And I'm trying to remember what the hell is the Super Mario Brothers Super Show? Or was that its own thing? Because there was, oh no, that's right. Super Mario Brothers Super Show was the first one. Then there's Super Mario Brothers 3, and then there's Super Mario World. And I think the Super Show was the only version of that had Captain Lou Albini as Mario. Yeah. God. And that's right. They also had the interludes with The Legend of Zelda. And at the time, they only had 2 Zelda games out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So going back to Super Mario Bros. 3, what would you say? What would you say was your favorite enemy that was either introduced or just gotten upgraded in this game?
Enemy that was introduced. I don't know if it was necessarily my favorite. I mean, the Koopa Kids were probably, if we're counting them, but if we're just saying general, like run-of-the-mill bad guys, I really liked Chain Chops are cool. They're certainly probably the most iconic thing to come out of this game in terms of new enemies outside of the Koopa Kids. So much so that, they have appear very prominently in Super Mario 64 and onwards. Also, Bullet Bills. This is the first game with Bullet Bills, isn't it?
No, that's Super Mario Bros. Had Bullet Bills.
Shit. Then,
well, I mean, you can still like Bullet Bills. I was saying.
What about Bob-ombs? Is this their debut?
Yes. I mean, unless you count Super Mario Brothers 2.
They're kind of different in Super Mario Brothers 2. Yeah. No, it would probably be bombs then if we're talking run of the mill like bad guys. How about you?
Um, hmm. I would give this to hmm. Yeah, I mean, I hate the boost so much, but
Oh
I
yeah.
would probably give this to the Fire Brothers.
Oh yes.
Um,
Oh yes.
yeah, that was a really cool twist. Actually, I mean, even the Boomerang Brothers, because I think they were more of a threat.
Sure.
Because for some reason I just could not calculate the dodge at the time. So then when it came to the showdown, how because like they would show up on the world map, and going back to just how the world map itself was very interactive, and you could do fun things with it rather than just going from level to level. You could challenge the whether it was like the Hammer Bros, the Boomerang Bros, or just a different generic enemy. Um, that was really cool because he had like the one-on-one showdown and the banana music.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun. And then, of course, if you won, you were rewarded with an item. I
Yeah.
thought that was so cool that they did that.
I mean, yeah, it's all so much cool stuff.
Ooh, and then Boom Boom was a really good mini boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just like the race to hit him 3 times before he could do anything.
Yeah, just move. Yeah. I mean, you're just annihilating him just like as he swings his arms and comes at you. Yeah, totally.
Once he starts flying, then it's a much tougher fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you ever get panic attacks because of the angry sun?
Oh my gosh, I hated the Angry Sun so much because, yeah, you can say I got panic attacks because it was just never ending.
Yeah, and they drew an angry face on him just to like make it all the worse. Like, by the way, he does not like you. Like he's
I
gonna
hate
fuck.
you.
Yeah, he's coming right at you.
Shit out of you.
Here he comes. Here he comes. Yeah, no, that was again World Two is I really like World Two, but those levels I was like I'm gonna
It's like
fucking
I gotta worry about these enemies across this platform, and I got the sun coming at me all at the same time.
yeah,
Then, uh,
I get through those levels as quickly as I can, not because
mm,
of like talent, but just because I don't want to deal with that sun longer than I have to.
I was so pissed when they brought the sun back in World 8 because that was so cruel. You
It,
thought you were done with him, and like, oh hey, it belongs in the desert. Nope.
yep. Even though it's like nighttime in Bowser World, you get the sun, and he's still angry. If anything, he's angrier. So yeah, that was maybe not my favorite thing.
Okay, so going back to panic attacks and new and interesting enemies, how about the giant cheap cheap that could swallow you whole?
Yes, though I didn't. It. Yeah, yeah. I feel like he's almost worse in Super Mario World, but yeah, having him show up here was not the best. Not not ideal at all. But yeah, do you any closing thoughts on the seminal Super Mario Brothers 3, Zach?
I mean, honestly, this one, it's as far as Mario games go, this is like peak Mario. Not that there are others that are worse than it by any means, but it's just if you were to go enjoy a retrospective of Mario titles, like this one's an absolute must. If there's someone who's been living under a rock for a century and never heard of Mario, show them this game. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. It's charming, it's wonderful, and this is pretty much like a template for how to make an amazing game.
As much as I love Super Mario Brothers and Super Mario Brothers 2, this really is the only game from the NES era that ages well, objectively.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of nostalgia that comes with playing those first two, and you could argue there's a lot of nostalgia here too. But no, it really is like top to bottom, just a fantastic game. So I can't recommend it enough. It's my favorite game on the NES. Well, it's between that and the original Legend of Zelda. Now that I think about it, but it's certainly my favorite Mario game. So yeah, this has been another installment of the Video Game Archives. We'll go ahead and pop this one in. And this rounds it out for the NES era. So maybe next week we'll do a different console. Next time we'll definitely do a different console. All right. I'm Sam.
I'm Zach.
Adios. This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.